In this video we're going to get our LED blinking using C on a Raspberry Pi. We're going to be using lwiringPi, and if you haven't got lwiringPi installed you can look at the previous video that I made that shows you how to do that. We're going to put the hardware together. In that I mean we're going to connect the LED to the Raspberry Pi. We're going to write a program that's going to make it blink. We're going to compile that program and we're going to run the code so that we actually do see the LED blinking. So this is what we want to see happening, our LED blinking, a long flash and then off for a short period of time. In this circuit a resistor is not required because the Raspberry Pi only gives us a very small voltage of 3.3. So this is what we're going to be trying to achieve by the end of the video. Okay, let's see how we're going to wire up our LED. So notice the LED's got a long line and a short line, and that'll be the same on yours as well. And the long line goes to the positive, and we're going to be giving the power from this pin here, which is physical pin 3, but the Broadcom number is 2. You might remember that from the last video. And then the short end goes to ground, which is physical pin 14. You can do that directly, or you can do it like I did with a breadboard, where the LED goes into a breadboard, and because this line is all connected, if I go from physical pin 3 here to this point on the breadboard here, is connected to every one of these, so it's connected to the long end, and that's the way they've drawn that there. And then here I've connected it to ground. So if you want to use a breadboard you can do this, or you can connect them directly. Okay, so let's look at the code that's required to make our LED blink on and off. First of all, let's make it clear we need to write this in a program that enables us to write our code. I like to use Genie, and you can find that in the program section just here. When you do it, you need to save it with the ending .c because it's going to be a C program, and that will enable the compiler to compile it in the right way. So let's talk about the code. We have this hash include wiringPi.h. That's telling the compiler I want you to load this stuff in first so that we can make use of it in the rest of our program. Be careful, this is programming. It enables you to and makes you be very precise. So I've got a capital P here. If you put a lowercase p, it's going to be wrong. I am going to include a link to all this code in the description below, but it's good if you type it in yourself. It's a C program, so we've got to start off with a main function, and the int at the beginning here just tells us we're going to return a value. So I return 0. Void means we're not going to put in anything first of all. Okay, the code for that function goes between braces. This will get simpler as we go on because we're going to keep repeating this over and over again as the programs build up. First of all, I've got to say, tell the Raspberry Pi I'm using lwiringPi. So lwiringPi setup, GPIO. Now look, if you don't want to use the Broadcom numbers like this number 2, you can just miss off the GPIO and you can use the lwiringPi numbers, and you can get those by doing that GPIO read all that we did in the last video. We then got to tell it what pin 2 does. Pin 2 does output, it sends a voltage. We set up a loop here, a for loop from here to here that runs forever. That's what this does here, and then this bit should be quite straightforward. We write to pin 2, we turn it on, high. We wait for 1 second because that's 1,000 milliseconds. Then we turn it off. Then we wait for a quarter of a second. Then we do it again forever. Okay, so let's compile and run our program. So we're going to do that from the terminal, and then from the terminal we've first of all got to go to the folder where we've got this program saved. Well, I'm going to go CD, going to go back to the root folder because that's where you're likely to be. So I'm going to do CD, and I've saved mine, if you remember, in documents. So doc, if I press tab, it finishes off for me, and I did it in a folder called test folder, and that gets me there. dir, see what's there. You can see that I've got blink.c. So what's the code that's required to do this? Well, GCC is the compiler, and to -wall, that means turn off the warnings. all the warnings. So -o, now I'm going to give it the name of the file that I want to create. So let's call that blink. Then I want to give it the name of the file I want to compile. Whoops, it's a capital B I use there. So that's blink.c. And then I've got to add this, and this is really important, is -l wiringPi. So I'm telling it, look, I'd like you to use the lwiringPi library. Press enter, doesn't take long. If I do dir, you can see we've got a file called blink now, which is this one here. To run this code, I'm going to do sudo, because you've got to lwiringPi, you can't basically affect the pins without using being a super user. Sudo period / and then the name of the file that I want to run. And there we are, that's our LED flashing. I hope it did it for you. All the code that we use is going to be in the link below.